Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael. Vermont is home to hundreds of dedicated dairy farmers. They are business owners who help drive our economy, work our landscape, and practice environmental stewardship. As farming technologies, procedures, and financials continue to change in the global market, dairy farmers in the Northeast are looking to stay on the cutting edge. Well, later this month, those farmers will get a chance to do just that at the 2019 Vermont Dairy Producers Conference. It's taking place February 26th at the DoubleTree by Hilton in South Burlington. It's the 20th year of the conference, which looks to connect our dairy farmers with national experts and industry companies. The conference focuses on everything and anything impacting the dairy industry and its hardworking farmers, issues like animal health to new technologies. For more on this year's conference and some of the topics of discussion, I want to welcome in two guests, Louise Waterman and Mark Rogers. They are two of the Vermont Dairy Producers Conference Committee members. Good afternoon. Thank you both for coming in.
Thank you, Will.
Louise, let's jump right into it. Okay. What are the farmers and visitors to the conference? What will they see and hear?
We've got a jam-packed agenda planned for the conference. Producers will hear topics on cow management, financial management. There's topics on the global world market as well as the dairy market as well as the milk market in Vermont. We also have a presenter that will be motivational in talking to us about positioning ourselves positively going through tough or challenging times. We have 6 keynote speakers from across the country. We have folks like Dr. Jeff Dahl, Dr. Travis DeVries, and many other on the docket.
And what strikes me is these things that you're mentioning. This is a very different generation of farming in terms of the depth of knowledge. I mean, it's always been important to know the knowledge of the cow working the barn, but these global markets and the technologies and things that you're talking about are they're changing all the time.
Exactly.
Now, I do want to ask, what's the significance of this conference for our viewers who are not professional dairy farmers?
Mm-hmm. I think we all need to, and I'd like to think we do, value the dairy industry in Vermont. It's incredibly important. For example, we talk about a working landscape. The dairy farmers are a critical part of that working landscape. They're also the dairy industry is a huge economic driver for the state of Vermont. So it behooves all of us to be concerned and value the success of our dairy industry in Vermont. One other piece I just wanted to mention on the conference, Will, was that it's also a trade show in essence. So we have about 50 related ag businesses that will be having booths there. So it's an opportunity for attendees to visit with these folks who are going to talk about new products, new innovations that they have. So we'll have a lot of opportunity for attendees to network with them as well. And then what I think is a really cool part of the conference is the door prizes. So we have cash door prizes. We have cash is king, right? We have
sign me up.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, you can't sign up because the door prizes can only be won by farmers.
Oh.
Excellent point.
Exactly. So there's one $2,000 cash prize, there's a $1,000 cash prize, and then 2 $500 cash prizes. So it's a pretty cool incentive and a fun little added piece for the conference.
And I think one of the things that strikes me is the cash prizes aside, this industry piece, this is an economic engine. This is exactly what we're talking about, these businesses.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Mark, I'm going to draw you into the conversation. You're a committee member. You're also a lifelong dairy farmer yourself in the Northeast Kingdom. So the question, why is this important for farmers and for the industry?
Well, it's important because over the years, as technology changes, as opportunities change, the amount of information that's out there, it's difficult for a farmer to sometimes find time to get these pieces of information, but we take this opportunity to draw national and international speakers from across the country, bring this information to Burlington, to Vermont for our farmers in Vermont and New York and New Hampshire. I've seen some of these speakers in Arizona and in Texas and in other places, and they're carrying that message here for our Vermont farmers that is available to people across the world. And it's much more impactful to hear a speaker talk about something than it is to read it in a magazine because you can talk to the person beside you, or you can go out to the trade show booths and maybe talk to somebody about a particular piece of information or technology that you weren't really up to speed on.
So there's information, there's technology, and there's also practices, I assume, that get shared.
Yeah, because people can say, yeah, hey, I started this 3 years ago and it's working really well for me. And there's always the opportunity for questions at the end of the presentation too. So you can be ask a question amongst your peers, or listen to the answer to a question that your peer posed that you hadn't really thought of. Sometimes that's the most valuable piece of information you can gain.
And the professional farmers are folks who need everything from veterinary skills to mechanical skills.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, it's all about the cow's health.
It is primarily about the cow's health, but one thing that we always focus on, and in these particular times, the health of the dairy farm family is also critical. Farmers have the highest suicide rate of any profession in industry in the United States and in the world. And we always make it a point to have at least one speaker to address the personal needs of the farmer and the farm family.
Well said, Mark, and it dovetails into a question that I wanted to ask Louise, this dairy farming nonstop, 7 days a week, all throughout the year. So why is it such a big deal that these folks are coming here? That the speakers and things that you're bringing in are going to be able to speak directly to our farmers?
Right. Bringing these high-level speakers to Vermont will allow our producers to get off the farm for a shorter period of time. They're busy. It's a 24/7 job, so it's hard to get away for any length of time. And the conference offers them the chance to hear national speakers and not have to be away from the farm for any great length of time. It's just a day, and it's also a chance for producers to network with each other, and farms from across the Northeast will be attending.
Just a day, but a very valuable day. Yeah. I want to point out to our viewers that if you're just joining us, we're talking about the upcoming 2019 Vermont Dairy Producers Conference. It's happening February 26, Tuesday. That's a couple of Tuesdays from today at the Doubletree in South Burlington. And well, we're going to point out as we put up part of the agenda, and we'll put this up a little later, the VermontDairyProducers.com for more information that you'll not only see the full agenda, but also get the information to register to attend. Some of the most difficult pieces of this conversation are talking about low milk prices, the government shutdown, even now the American tariffs we know are all having an impact on our farmers here locally, even though they're these large global issues. So that's going to be something, you have a speaker who's covering some of that in the presentation, Mark, and I'm wondering if you can talk about Jay, I'm going to butcher his name, Voldvogel, who's going to talk about the importance of experts in the dairy industry.
Well, exports have become increasingly important. The United States represents 4% of the world's population, yet we produce 15% of the world's dairy cow milk. So obviously, and we have a high consumption rate, but 1 day's production out of every 7 is exported. So 15% of our milk, 15 to 17% of the milk that we make is exported. And we're trying to address the needs of products that we may not be used to making here in this country, like butter. International butter is 82% fat. Butter that we make here for this market is 80. So we need to adjust some of the things that we do and gear up to be a major exporter. The other thing that we're doing now is we're competing against the rest of the world. So whether you've got a farm in Vermont or Wisconsin or California or Texas, you're competing against a farm in New Zealand and in Germany and in Denmark, because we're all trying to send our excess products to feed the world. I mean, it's not necessarily, it needs to be looked at as a burden. We're trying to do a good thing, but it's the world is an international marketplace, whether you're buying a book or a block of cheese.
And there's, again, one of the experts we're going to hear from, and what you're talking about is critical. You're sharing a series of numbers with us, Mark, and the bottom line is I'm going to throw out that I don't think a lot of Americans understand how important these exports markets are to our dairy farmers, and specifically what I'm reading about the impacts of the tariffs that have been implemented in terms of exports to New Zealand, Australia, and the Europeans really getting in on that market. This is a critically important piece for our dairy farmers.
It is all the trade agreements that come about. You know, it's right now they're working on one with Japan, but the United States isn't included in it. And dairy farmers in the United States are worried about these two, international trade agreements that are going on, and we're not at the table.
So, Louise, along this vein, what's maybe the most important things that farmers can do to set themselves up for long-term success?
I think one of the things that comes to mind is planning. Strategic planning, business planning. That would be true for any business, not just the dairy industry businesses. With a plan, it allows businesses to manage the ups and downs in the industry. And for the dairy industry, the price of milk is one of those definite ups and downs. So,
and that's maybe another piece. The public really, sadly, it's not their fault. The economics are so complicated. It's so difficult sometimes to understand.
Right.
And we all have empathy, but sometimes we just really can't understand all of these pressures.
Right.
And the perceptions are sometimes difficult. So as farmers, we also need to do a better job educating the consumer to help bring them along so that they understand what our challenges are, but what our ultimate goal is, and it's to provide a good, wholesome dairy product for them and their families.
Well, once again, the 2019 Vermont Dairy Producers Conference will take place February 26th at the Doubletree by Hilton, which is the former Sheraton Conference Center in South Burlington. And as you can see on the screen, you can get more information by going to vermontdairyproducers.com. And to learn more about the practices and technologies being used on our dairy farms, or if you just have other questions, you can visit mustbethemilk.com and click on Common Questions. Louise and Mark, I want to thank you very much for coming in today. A couple of weeks from today, the Vermont Dairy Producers Conference.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will.
That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.